You get home from work after a long day completely drained, but still can't switch back to home mode. Your mind keeps running, and it feels impossible to let those thoughts go. You don't have the energy to work out, and you simply don't want to sit in front of the TV. You start thinking about throwing some darts, but don't want to get annoyed again by missing doubles. But it shouldn't be like that. What if I say that darts is one of the greatest tools for mental transition if you use it intentionally? After more than 6 years of playing, I'm convinced of it. And in this video, I want to share my experiences and thoughts about how and why. Here we go. I've been working in multinational environment for 20 years now. Over time, I moved into roles with increasing responsibility, including leadership roles from quite early on. Leading people is a great honor. You can help people to get through problems, help them to grow, and make the real difference. But at the same time, it also takes a lot of presence and a lot of mental energy. And I need to admit, for the first 17 years of my career, I didn't do anything intentionally for my mental well-being. I was just mostly following what felt good in the moment. And when I finally felt completely overwhelmed, I would just try to do some kind of reset. The form of it could be different, but they had one thing in common. I wanted that reset to happen quickly, and I believe that was the unhealthy part. Because the human body is not built for extreme switches, but it is very good at adapting. If you go from 100 to 0 in 1 second, there is a good chance that something gets damaged. But if you slow down step by step, you can handle it safely. And I think the same is true mentally as well. When something changes around us, the mind does not always move on at the same speed. Part of it often stays connected to whatever just came before. There is actually a model for it, usually used for bigger changes over a longer period of time. It is called the change curve, but I think it also appears at very small everyday situations. Because when we come home from work and try to move straight into family life, our mind can be still occupied by a meeting from earlier, or an unfinished task, or a problem what already lost its urgency but still continues running in the background. And then we try to force the switch. We tell ourselves that work is over, now we should relax, be present and enjoy the evening. But mentally, the transition may not have happened yet. And I think that is where a lot of tension comes from. Because even hours later, the same thoughts can still be there. Not because the issue is so important, but because the mind was never really guided out of the state. And I worked exactly like that myself. I got home from work, had the usual small talks and normal things at home, but was still thinking about solving a problem from a meeting 5 hours before. Even if it was not urgent anymore, my brain was still stuck on it. Then one day, I had a moment that changed how I saw this. At that time, I had already been competing darts for a while and was preparing for the next tournament. I had a planned practice before dinner, but when I got home, I felt I'm not in the right state to have a proper performance session. My head was full, and I knew if I pushed myself, it would probably make things only worse. So I chose something simpler instead. I did not set a target for that session. I just wanted some movement, some rhythm, but also doing the counting. I played 121 in 9 darts, and after each try I moved one number up, no matter if I finished or not. Honestly, I don't remember much about the start of that session, but I remember that around 140 something changed. I became fully focused and started to hit everything, and also the thoughts from work were gone. At first, I only noticed the darts part. What happened? How could I suddenly play so much better? But the important part came after the session. I went for dinner and I was fully present. We had a really good evening together as a family, and actually I was there in it. Not just physically there, but mentally as well. And that stayed with me. But that performance between 140 and 170 stayed with me the next day as well. How could I switch into that sharp state in just a few seconds? But in reality, it was not seconds, but the opposite. It was a transition, and darts was the tool which helped me getting there. There is a risk here that I also want to mention, because darts is a game of emotional swings. It can feel great when the darts land well, but it can be very frustrating when they don't. And sometimes the difference is only a few millimeters. That is why darts is not automatically a good recharge tool. If I use darts to force something out when my head is full, every miss feels bigger than it really is. A missed double is no longer just a missed double. It is a proof that I'm off, and even this is not working today. Then it is obviously not a recharge, but the opposite of it. Because I'm not releasing the tension, but building more of it. So for me, the real question became not whether darts can help after work, but what kind of session actually helps. Because I do not think that the answer is play more or practice harder. I think it depends a lot on what practice I choose when I step to the board. If my head is already full and I put pressure on every visit, then the session can go wrong very quickly. That is why on those days I do not start with a test. I don't push myself into a session which demands sharpness from the first minute. Instead, I begin with something that lets me arrive. That can be a simple drill just to hit the 20s, or a counting exercise like 121 but without any penalty. A routine where I just throw, follow the numbers and let the rhythm come back. A favorite of mine is the 50 visit session. Do something light but structured and then just move on to the next one. Or just simply finish the session. The most important things for me are to stay light with keeping the purpose. This is my best combination for transition. You will also see that once the mind settles, the game will start to open by itself. Focus comes more naturally, the throwing becomes cleaner. And then if I want to measure something later in the session, that's fine. But I do not think that every session has to start there. Sometimes the better choice is to earn that state first. And if that's not coming, that's also fine. Darts is the tool, not the reason. If we keep this as a main rule, a lot of frustration can be avoided. If I'm honest with myself early enough, I can feel when a session is about flow, rhythm and enjoyment, and when it's the right time to demand more. For me, that became a much healthier way to use the game. Not by removing performance from darts, but choosing the right time for it. I think this is again where darts becomes more than just a game. Because if you use the game in this way, it helps you to understand yourself a bit better. You start to notice more clearly what state you are in when you step to the board. Some days the game helps you settle quite quickly. On the other days you feel that you are bringing tensions with you and that the session slowly turns into another place of pressure. And I think that matters. Because a lot of times we move through the day without really noticing where we are mentally. We keep going, keep reacting and keep pushing. And only later we do realize we were already tired, we were already tense or overloaded. Darts can reflect that back, quite honestly. And that is why this also connects back to the bigger idea of darts as a self-reflection tool. Because sometimes the game doesn't only show us our level, it also shows us our state. And the more we notice that, the more useful darts can become. Not only for improving our game, but also understanding ourselves a bit better. So for me, sometimes the real value of a practice session is not in numbers what I produce at the board. It is in what it changes in me. If the game helps to leave behind some of the noise of the day, if it helps me to settle or reset, then it goes far beyond darts itself. The benefit is that we walk away calmer, more present, more available for the evening which is still ahead of us. Then darts is not only something that can improve our game, it can also improve the version of ourselves that we bring back home. I hope it was interesting. Thanks for joining today. As always, darts is fun, watch and play every day. Cheers!